My mother, who was obviously a very big influence on my life, really wanted me to quit playing football. So I made a decision after middle of my sophomore year to not go to another small college and play football and run track, but to come to Texas. And that was probably one of the biggest right decisions that I ever made in my life. And that was the reason I came here. Mother was really the one that influenced me in that regard.
I think Mike feels that the university gave him something that he would not have gotten anyplace else. It broadened his horizons. It introduced him to a lot of wonderful group of people.
The system and the university introduced me to things that I had never experienced. And I've wanted to be a part of that on a go-forward basis because I think it really helps change the lives of a lot of people that don't even understand what's happening to them. And I think that's one reason that I've chosen to be involved in the university, mainly because I feel like it's a life-changing event for young people, and I like to be a part of that. It was the best 7 years of my life was being in college. I don't know how you get any better than that. I grew up in a small town south of Wichita Falls called Connally, a town of about 5,000 people.
I mean, it's country. It's going to visit the cousins. It's 4 blocks driving up and down the drag.
My mother was a very strong lady. She had gone to college and graduated when she was like 21 years old and became a high school teacher and moved to Olney when she was like 26. Met my father, who was a small town bookkeeper in Olney, and they got married, and we were just what we were. We were working people.
She was one of those women who taught Bible school, and she also worked with the young women in their church and was almost like a psychologist for them. So she was always giving of her time and her effort, and that's what he grew up with.
I think they did the best that they could. I mean, they weren't the huggy, kissy, lovey kind of parents. I mean, back in that time, I don't think there were a lot of parents that were, because everyone had to work hard, especially to make it through the Depression.
He always wanted to do things before his parents thought he should. I think he got his first car, which was a Model T, I think, when he was 14. That was a little early. He talked them into letting him deliver the newspapers on a horse.
I begged my parents to let me have a paper route when I was in the 5th grade, and they said, son, you got to wait till you're at least 12 or 13. And I finally convinced them to let me deliver papers around the little town every afternoon. And I made $5 a week, which was a lot of money in those days. And I had my own money. I could buy a milkshake for 25 cents. I felt like I was semi-independent, and I liked it.
My first impression is the impression I have today. He is the quintessential entrepreneur in this state.
You put him in a business atmosphere and he's tough as nails.
He's a great salesman. He gets close to people. He engages with them.
He puts letter grades to all kinds of things, more than anybody I know.
He's optimistic, and he's a smart guy. He understands the risk and rewards, and I think he's had good judgment in business.
He has an incredible mind for numbers, and we can be discussing business, and he can calculate and process a complicated formula or calculation in his head quicker than I can do it on the calculator. He is phenomenal in that way, and I just think that's amazing.
Education has always been a big thing for him. I guess I was trying to decide if he hadn't been a business guy, what would he have been? And I think he might have been a coach or a teacher. I just think he finds such great pleasure out of helping people and helping them learn how to do things.
Mike Myers is a remarkable gentleman. I'll put a capital G on that gentleman. He is a man of very few words, but every word is pregnant.
He's got incredible good judgment. He has a very, very wise and experienced mind that has been involved in so many different diverse industries.
He's always on the move. Curiosity, unbounded curiosity. In fact, when you travel with him, you know, on a plane or anywhere, you're going to get question after question after question, digging deeper into a subject rather than just giving a perfunctory answer.
Mike is shy. He's not a guy that's going to gloat about his success for his money, so you really have to pull things out of him. So here's a guy who had nothing, and he had to pay his way to college. So it wasn't like he was just trying to learn to make money, he was trying to eat.
I was more motivated than most of the people that I was in school with. And I don't know why, but I was, and I've continued to be that way the rest of my life. Started driving a gasoline truck when I was 16. Then when I got to be 18, I dug ditches for the Texas pipeline.
He had his burger stand that he would drive around. I think it was Bevo's Burgers. Didn't have to have a copyright back then for the name. And they would travel around at sorority houses to sell burgers so he could meet the girls.
A contract came available at Fort Polk, Louisiana. We bid on that contract and we were partners. It was kind of a gamble, and we were young enough not to know any better. It was a good business experience for both of us.
He was making more money as a student at Texas than the president of the University of Texas. So that was his start.
One of the things that's probably not known about Mike very much is that as a very young man, he was an outstanding Bible salesman.
I think I bought half a dozen Bibles from him.
He wasn't a friend at the time, but he was a friend of my cousin's, and he was at Baylor. And he talked me into going up to sell Bibles in Jackson, Michigan, when I was 19.
That takes a lot of engagement. He was one of the champions of the profession across the country.
I went up there, had no car, and I had this southern accent, a lot of which I still have. And I went through the most grilling test of my life by getting run off at about 2/3 of the doors. Being rejected is something you can overcome if you've got the will. And I would be in the position of trying to convince them this is a good investment, something they were going to have for a long time. And once people saw what I had and were willing to buy, then other people found out about it. And of course, I used their names, and success breeds success, as all of us know.
And he learned a lot about human nature in doing that, which gave him great assistance as he developed a broader spectrum of activities.
I got my degree in business engineering, and then I went to law school, and a man named Jake Pickle decided to run for the United States Congress, and he asked me to go to work for him, which I did. He said it was a special election from the 10th district here where Lyndon Johnson had served previously. And I worked for him for 90 days, and he got elected. And he offered me a job to be his administrative assistant in Washington. Governor Connally's people had heard that I did a good job, and they offered me a job as administrative assistant to Governor Connally. And I decided to work for Governor Connally.
These are the Connally boys who have been together for half a century, more than half a century now. This is Mike Myers. That's me. This is Howard Rose, who was his first executive assistant, Governor Connally himself, Larry Temple, who became his executive assistant, and John Mobley.
They're a group of men that met at a very young age and became friends and remained friends. And I think the unusual thing about the friendship is that it has extended for so many years, and it's really a group of people that are best of friends.
Mike, of course, was another key figure. He was Governor Connolly's travel aide.
One of the things that Governor Connally did that a lot of people in high positions in government and in corporate world, he never pitted each of us against each other. You know, sometimes leaders have a tendency among their assistants to kind of pit them against each other, and he never did that. And as a result of that, here we are 50 years later, and we're still great friends.
We had a camaraderie that's very, very rare, and we see each other all the time here in Austin.
He loved the smoke-filled rooms. He loved the the vision about where Texas plays in the United States politics. That was a great time in Texas. And he was very humbled, I know, just to be a small part of it.
Here's Mike Myers and Lowell Lieberman and Ben Barnes that are working with the governor, and all the history, and I wasn't here at that time, but the history with President Johnson and what he meant to our country, and Governor Connally sitting next to President Kennedy when he got shot, and Coach Royal, he was looking into the mirror listening to the radio because he was going to pick up President Kennedy. He was going to meet him at the airport that afternoon to bring him to Austin. And so those stories are just unbelievable, and Mike Myers was part of our history. He was part of all those stories.
Governor Connally, Mrs. Connally, Mike, and my wife, my late wife, Annis Reed Barber, all went to Paris together. Mike and I went up to Montmartre, where all the nightclubs were, you know, and we went up there, and we were feeling real good. We were full of ourselves, let's put it that way. And so the reporters following us, and one of the reporters says, what do y'all plan to do tomorrow? And kind of jointly, I can't remember who said it first, said, well, we're going to Versailles, you know, the palace. And they said, what are you going to do there? I said, well, we may buy it. You know, just Texan ego, you know, overboard. And so we got back to Austin, and so when the clippings of the newspaper came in, why, there was a little clip about it, you know, quoting that's what we'd said at that. And it was on the governor's desk. And we weren't real sure what his reaction was going to be. And we were in the room waiting for the hammer to drop, and he just looked at us and smiled. So that was one of the most memorable occasions we had together.
He's been a great coach for me being mayor, and a great supporter. And it was just neat to be talking to a legend like Mike Myers about those days.
As he moved on down the road, he got involved in real estate development, but he also was running restaurants. He ran country clubs with the facilities attendant to a country club. He got involved in banks. He's running banks.
What I think has made him special is, yes, he's very, very smart, and he's very savvy, and he learns from the past, and he's in a strange way a cautious man. But I think he backs people. He's always looking for talented human beings.
I guess the driving engine in Mike's, at least on the business side, is his residential development side. I suspect over time he's probably developed on the residential side somewhere around 4,500 acres of land, and probably translates to maybe homes and residences for 50,000 people.
We worked together on the project at Woodhaven, the first major thing he did, and Governor Connally was involved in that. It was a beautiful old ranch, east of Fort Worth, 700-acre ranch, and transformed that into a country club community.
One of the reasons I think he's been so successful in the banking industry is that he's so good at picking out his bankers and setting high expectations, but then not meddling in the day-to-day business. He lets all of his bankers be bankers.
Nobody that I know has been as widely involved and as successfully involved in entrepreneurial activities as Mike has. He's almost a one-man big corporation.
It was in the spring, and it was actually Coach Petrucelli's first practice, was my recruiting trip. I never thought to play at Texas. I got to tour the facility they were building in, and I got to walk through and put a hard hat on and go through the entire facility. I can remember stopping and the coaches like pulling out the blueprints and going over like the layout of what the stadium was going to look like, and I can remember thinking, this is it. This is where I want to be. And it felt like it was the beginning of something new, like you were a part of a program that was on its way to being really successful. Being able to play in the first game in that stadium. And that was the first time I actually met Mr. Myers. As an 18-year-old, again, you have no idea the implications or the impact that that's going to make on your life. Somebody giving a gift the size that he did and essentially providing the opportunity for someone like myself to continue doing something that I love. His gift and what he's done for the university has altered the paths of people's lives, mine included.
When DeLoss hired me back in 1993 to work in athletics, the first name he brought up about one of his confidants and somebody that he trusted with regard to bouncing athletics business off of was Mike Myers.
I've got no better friend. He's one of those people during the good times. He's not there during the tough times. You look and he's standing beside you.
DeLoss had become a friend, and I've been a supporter of a lot of different things at the university that weren't necessarily athletical. I've been scholarships and other things, professorships and so forth and so on.
I think I knew him 10 years before I asked for him to help.
And in about 1996, Texas was going through a tough time in those days. This is right after our big recession in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was trying to improve all the facilities.
The track was part of that massive facility renovation in the late 90s, and we needed to improve our football field, so the track had to come out of the football stadium in order to do that. We had started women's soccer, and so we needed a facility for soccer. We said, Mike, we have 7 teams we need to have a training facility for. 2 indoor track teams, 2 outdoor track teams, 2 cross-country teams, and a women's soccer team.
And I really didn't ask him to help. He came to me. He ran in the Texas Relays when he grew up in Olney, and that was a big deal to him. I don't think he was very good, but he was good enough to run in the relays. And he said, you know, you want to build a new track, I'd like to help you build that track.
He was doing like all good athletic directors, and he was a great one, raised a lot of money, and he convinced me that I need to help build this track stadium, and he's such a low-key salesman. Before I knew what was happening, I was signing the dotted line. I felt like, number one, there was not any question there was a need for it. If we had continued to try to run the Texas Relays and other great track meets, the state track meet in the stadium, it would have been difficult.
And we have a clean start. Texas Southern in 1, UTEP in 2, Missouri in 3, Houston in 4, Clemson in 5, Texas in 6.
You know, they didn't want to take away from the history of, you know, the Texas Relays. They didn't want to take away from the history of being able to host the high school state championships, as well as all the other meets that we're able to host here. And that was huge for, you know, for Mike to be able to step up and be able to offer something, to have a, you know, first-class facility.
We became the gate to the athletic facilities at the university. I couldn't have been more excited about what was happening at the university at that time.
I think he's very proud of that stadium, and I'm very proud, you know, that we did it for him, and it's been great for kids. It's been great for the state of Texas. You know, the Texas Relays, thousands of kids come in there. What he did for track and field, what he did for Texas, what he did for the relays is, you know, you can't measure that.
While I was there, we were close to 6,000 athletes, and I think in the last couple of years, they bumped it up to about 6,500 actually compete there. And that's got to make Mike feel good, because a lot of dreams coming true on that weekend.
That facility, that beautiful 22,000 seat Mike Myers Stadium, is the jewel in America for track and field and for soccer.
This actually exists. This like utopian athletic city exists. I get to use one of the greatest tracks in the world, and it didn't exist like 15 years ago.
We wouldn't be here without all of the support of Mike Myers and his family. And I can tell you one thing, when we bring young ladies onto this campus, it is the best soccer facility in the country. With much is given, much is expected. And Mike A. Myers has raised the level for all of us, and he has contributed so much from the bottom of his heart, and we're here to make sure we make him proud.
First met Mike when I was back in high school, and I actually knew his daughter Mandy. We actually went to school together. She was a little younger than I was.
Our children had been working very hard behind the scenes to set us up on a blind date.
I'd been divorced about 6 years, and their best friend called his dad, Barney Giles, who used to play for the University of Texas football team. He came over and started giving me a sales pitch why I needed to call Sammy up.
We were kind of wanting to accommodate the children by meeting each other, but we both assumed this is going to be, responsibility that we'll have out the door, and we'll just meet for a cocktail and go our separate ways, and we did what we needed to do.
I didn't know who she was or what she looked like, and I finally took her out on a blind date.
And we just talked and talked and talked and talked, and then he did have a date that night for dinner, and I had a date the next night, and I went to my date, and then after that we didn't date anyone else. Those beautiful baby blue eyes, and he would just look at you so intently and just ask you all these questions. He can find out more about a person in less time than any human I've ever seen. And he had my whole life story, probably more of it than he wanted by the end of the evening.
She's very detailed, exacting, and I'm a little more high policy.
She smooths his edges off and classes him up quite a bit.
Sammy is very creative. She loves to overdo stuff, and Mike likes stuff overdone.
Sammy is just one of the most wonderful, darling, beautiful people inside and out that I know. She has supported Mike in everything he's done.
His daughter Mandy is just a joy in his life.
He loves to travel. I mean, I think that's a passion of his, and like father, like daughter. So I've inherited that bug. And so we've done golf trips together. We went to Ireland, Scotland, and England and played golf. And when I was younger, we went to the Galapagos Islands scuba diving, and we went to Australia scuba diving. So we've gotten to do a lot of great things together and really form that bond, I think, as we've gotten older.
He welcomes a lot of people into family, and I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be related by blood or marriage or anything.
His family would go every night to his grandfather's house, and they would spend an hour discussing everything from politics to science to religion. They discussed everything, and they were they were somewhat confrontational. And then they said, "We got to go," and everybody gets up and they laugh and hug and I was like, "What just happened?" They said, "Oh, this is what we used to do all the time. We debated," and they were all best friends after it was all over. But during the debate, the intensity was really interesting.
I like playing golf with Mike because he's interested, but he's hard to play with because you can't sit there and take 3 practice swings and go back and look at it and take your time because he's already in the golf cart, like going to the green. I don't see why he doesn't just walk. I mean, he could walk faster than he could in a cart.
He's a great gin player though, but you always want to be on his team.
Slide gin is more fun because it's more of a family thing. We can all do it together. Although, if you're not on his team, good luck.
Mike goes skiing with me and
golfing
and a lot more stuff. Sometimes I just can't think of at the time.
He took my brother and I on a fishing trip to Alaska. Mike and I were crammed into the back of this little tiny plane, and it started dropping and flying all over. And Mike grabbed hold of me, and I don't think he let go till we landed, and I had no blood left in my hand from as tight as he was squeezing. When we landed, we had a huge female grizzly bear up on top of our plane, literally with her paws shaking because she was trying to get to the fish. She could smell the fish in there, and they had to run her off with pepper spray as Mike and my brother and I just kind of stood there and went, oh my God.
As a stepfather, grandfather to my child, husband to my mother, he's, I think, an incredible man. Again, strong type A personality, but he still has a heart as big as Texas.
We hired John Fields in here and said, John, come in here, you know, be the coach at Texas, but by the way, we don't have a locker room, we don't have a golf course, we don't have any of that, but you got to win, you know. Well, that's hard to do.
The University of Texas Golf Club was the one ingredient that we didn't have when I first got here that was likely putting a hold on our program reaching the highest level.
We needed a golf home. Our Board of Regents at the time was a little bit nervous about inheriting a golf course. They kind of thought, is that our core business as a, institution of higher learning?
From a recruiting perspective, in the new millennium, we needed a golf course. DeLoss recognized that. Mike Myers was the person that really could make it happen.
And Mike was very interested in building a golf course. And he had done it before, he'd done it commercially and with some of his housing developments.
Texas was the only school in the Big 12 that did not have its own golf course. And DeLoss was trying to build up all the facilities that he could, which he, as you know, did a great job. And he came to me and he knew I'd build golf courses and said, Mike, we need a golf course. Would you consider building one for the university? And I said, well, DeLoss, let me think about it. And I finally made the decision that I was going to do that.
So it took an extraordinary person who had incredible knowledge to be able to make the deal work.
Sammy and I started looking around Austin to try to find the right piece of land to build a golf course on.
That was really kind of the first time we'd really worked together. Mike was very much the big picture, and I'm running numbers on little spreadsheets and things, and it has worked very well.
I almost backed out. I called DeLoss one time and said, DeLoss, this golf business is going straight downhill. I'm not sure that I want my legacy to be building a course that's going to create a lot of problems and not be successful. And the wonderful thing about DeLoss is that he was very disappointed when I told him I didn't think I wanted to do it. And he said, Mike, you got to do what you think's best for you, and I understand that. I don't blame you. I ended up changing my position about a month later, and the rest is history.
We looked at a lot of properties, but they either weren't owned by the right type of entity so that you would have the surrounding properties maintained at a level that you would want, or they were geographically just not in the best location.
We were over in South Africa. We were doing our South Africa trip, and he and I were, and that's where he is the businessman. He was in South Africa with a satellite phone out in the bush for an hour at $5 a minute on the phone talking to everyone back in Austin while I'm taking a safari by myself because he's doing business.
It was really hard to conceive of a golf course being here because it was not very pretty, but we had great golf course designers and great people with great ideas, and they made it into an absolutely beautiful place.
This piece of land out here is just beautiful. We're encased by the Colorado River. We're surrounded by these deep ravines that go around this golf course. It's just a beautiful property, and it's very well maintained. Terrific clubhouse, terrific academy, and it's challenging too. This golf course tests every part of your game, and it challenges our student athletes, and it helps us get better.
Those that are that great an athlete are going to want to go to some place that has great facilities. I think that's just a matter of what the system, how the system works. So I think having great facilities is a big encouragement to getting top athletes to come and participate. You got to have other good things. Have good academics, you got to have good education, you got to have good coaches, We all know all that, but having good facilities means a lot, and I think that was one of the reasons that we wanted to build a golf course.
And a lot of people forget, you know, the original club actually, right almost at the end of its completion, actually burned down. And you can imagine everyone was heartsick. All three entities, Taylor, Woodrow, Mike, and Bill, said no one got hurt, no one was injured, we can rebuild. And they rebuilt so fast.
Bill I'd known for 15 years and had been very successful, and I was looking for somebody to take some of the exposure on the club with me, and I got him to take a small percentage, and he's been a great partner.
Bill likes to make things nice. He understands what's nice because he travels a lot, sees a lot of different clubs, and he put his own footprint on that property and did things that make that property really special.
For Mike Myers and DeLoss Dodds, it is all about the kids. It was giving our kids the best opportunity for success.
Us winning that national championship in today's world wasn't going to happen unless we had UT Golf Club.
My daughter Mandy and I were there for 3 days at Riviera. Needless to say, very exciting. We won it on the last hole after actually 5 days of playing.
Pearl Fields had me by the shoulder right here at that last putt that Fratelli was putting. And as the putt got closer and closer, her hand was gripping tighter and tighter and literally taking me to my knees. It was hurting so bad, but we were so excited watching that putt go in, and Dad's right there, and oh my gosh, what an amazing moment. I mean, it was an amazing moment. And we were running up and down the hill on 18, you know, trying to follow all the players, and Dad and I were just right there, and so excited. And he afterwards is getting his picture made with the team and the trophy, and it was awesome.
They were there when we won. My favorite story is being on the 18th hole with my team, with my wife, with my kids, and with Mike Myers and Mandy Myers, and Mike giving all of us a big hug, and really, really, really being happy for all of us.
When they all returned to Austin, we had a big dinner for them in the Chancellor's office, and went down and had pictures made in front of the tower, and they had it all lit up orange.
The national championship we got in golf put a star up for Mike Myers. We wouldn't have done that without that golf course.
I went to an event in Dallas and actually ran into DeLoss and started talking about how I was a current student athlete and a soccer player, and he immediately pulled out a piece of paper and a pen and started writing something down. And at the end of the conversation, he hands me this piece of paper and he says, you need to write him a note. And I look down and it's Mike Myers' address on it. And I think to myself, yeah, I probably should send him a note thanking him for this amazing stadium and allowing me to play. I think back at the 19-year-old version of myself writing a thank you note to Mike Myers, and I think that I probably didn't properly thank him for providing us the opportunity to continue doing what we love. And how do you properly thank somebody for altering the course of your life? I mean, I'm a stronger and better person because of my time at Texas.
It's all about setting examples for young people, and that's what he's all about. And you know, from the academic side to the athletic side, and he's just so proud. And then I think that what makes him so unique is he's so concerned about the academic side of it all.
I know there's so many ways that he's contributed to the university through education department and other ways that no one will ever really know and appreciate Mike Myers for all that he's done.
The Mike A. Myers Foundation, he started it long ago, and like I said, it's geared towards giving back to kids.
I created the foundation when I was 28. I think it really was because my mother was so driven to help other people, and she's really responsible for me having that attitude. She was always the kind of person that was trying to do things for other people.
Mike has been very instrumental in establishing scholarships through the University of Texas system. But beyond that, he has a real heart for the Dallas County Community College. He believes that not every student, not every young person is capable or able to go to a four-year university. And Mike has a passion and a total belief that the community college system is exactly what a lot of students need. And so he has made it his mission to help those students out.
He was the first money into the Rising Star Scholarship Program, challenged other donors to match his dollar for dollar. They did that, and it enabled that scholarship program now has well over $20 million in the endowment, serving hundreds of students every single year. But I think the one that he would probably talk about first is the LaCroix Scholars, named after his friend and former chancellor, Dr. Jan LaCroix, who was the chancellor of the Dallas County Community College District, and he is still personally engaged in that effort.
He is also a man who has perhaps the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. A big heart in terms of serving others, particularly in my experience, serving the people whom Parkland serves.
He really believes that the public health care is a huge issue for our country, and that's his way of being able to contribute to that aspect that is so worthwhile for our community as a whole.
Parkland is Dallas County's safety net hospital. About 80% of our patients have no insurance and have no place else to go. The current Parkland campaign is called the I Stand for Parkland campaign, and it is a campaign to help fund the new Parkland facility, which will open in August of this year. His gift, which he announced earlier this year, actually put us over the $150 million mark, so that was quite a celebration for him to make that announcement at that time.
I've had the privilege of watching him give away millions of dollars to probably thousands of organizations and young people.
His ability to help kids has been extraordinary, but motivating others to do the same thing would probably be his legacy. If I had to think about anything, I would think that hoping that people would see what he's done, and that when all of us are gone, that there'll be some others that will say, you know, if he could do that, I can do that.
If I were to write him a letter now, I would say that you have provided me with the experience of a lifetime, with something that has given me a platform to become a better person and understand the ability to pay that forward and do make a difference in people's lives. I mean, he set up the physical situation for me to choose Texas. And my time at Texas changed my life. I mean, I met my husband, I now have a career, and I would just say thank you for altering the course of my life in a positive way.
Mike, we're so proud that your name's on the stadium, and we've got the statue of you up there. I want to thank you on behalf of all the fans, all the student athletes, University of Texas, and athletics. Thank you, sir.
He's the guy that sits back and comes and saves the day in a lot of different ways.
He's changed golf in Austin, and you know, his legacy is big for a lot of reasons, but that golf course is really, really special.
I think the name Mike Myers will always be associated with the University of Texas, not only through athletics, but in other ways that aren't quite so visible.
He just has a drive about him too that is amazing. I mean, he's 79 years old and still I mean, just going strong.
Great father, great husband, cares about the university so much.
I just have nothing more to say, but he's a really great grandfather again. He's just wonderful. Really love him.
He's a self-made man, that's no question about it.
It's a daily reminder of the reasons why we are here and the reasons we're afforded such a tremendous facility.
Anything he's involved with, he wants it to be the best. And obviously, the University of Texas is the best, and he wants to help.
How do you say thanks to somebody that's done that much? They've put things in place that will be here permanently for years and years and years.
His legacy clearly will be in the successes of all those young people.
He's been on a big stage, but yet he never forgot where he came from, and he never has forgotten his friends.
Mike's legacy will be one of philanthropy, honesty, integrity, just caring about his fellow man.
I wore the burnt orange tie in honor of Mike Myers, and I think that's great, but you don't know you exactly the burnt orange color or not. You know, I got my shoes, but are they really burnt orange or not? You know, and I got my belt, and is it really, I don't know if it's exact. So I think we should create the Michael A. Myers apparel and accessory line of UT ties, men's underwear, okay, shoes, belts, purses, okay. Neiman's would sell them wild. Just we've got to maybe even put his little face on a thing. People would go wild about it. Okay, he's such a legend, and UT would make a ton of money. We might get into sports memorabilia. Okay, might do the Michael A. Myers golf balls. You know, we could do athletic shoes as well. I think there's I mean, Under Armour should be a little scared about this idea.